The honourable member for Dartmouth North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the play Red Noses by Britain's Peter Barnes is set in 1348 France during the Black Plague. There is no cure, people are dying everywhere, and they're full of fear. The story follows a priest named Father Flot, a man named Sonnery, who speaks with bells tied to his limbs, and a number of other characters who are from the margins of society. Together they make up the Red Noses of Auxerre, and they move throughout France as clowns, bringing comedy and laughter to the afflicted and dying masses. When I was a student at Dalhousie, the classes ahead of me staged a production of Red Noses, and since then I've often thought of the play and how, for centuries, like the characters in the play, it has been the art makers and performers who have been the ones to respond to and articulate our collective emotional reaction to disasters, be they natural or human-made. Some examples from recent history would be blockbuster films like Schindler's List or The Pianist that offer intimate peeks inside the treachery of the Holocaust, or Jonathan Safran Foer's novel Extremely Loud and Incredible Close, in which the protagonist's father has been killed in the September 11th attacks in New York, or the Canadian-made Broadway hit show about the same tragedy, Come From Away. The hugely popular nature of these pieces of art speaks to their ability to help us humans process deep sadness, abject fear, utter joy, outrage and anger, and so many other real-life emotions. Many pieces of art will inspire us to take action against injustice, or seek acceptance, or make amends with someone. Art, Mr. Speaker, is powerful. And it's not just the blockbusters or the mass-marketed or the award-winning pieces of art that are important. Here in our province, artists of all kinds have created work that touch us, challenge us, and make us consider something in a way that we never have before. The art makers among us here in our communities are essential threads in the weave that makes up the fabric of our lives, even if we don't always notice. Mr. Speaker, like the people in 1348, we are in the midst of a global health pandemic. Millions of people have died and millions still fear the virus, even as vaccines roll out through the world. This past year, we have watched a global shutdown that has left us numb, incredulous, depressed, scared, and in lots of cases, grateful. In what seemed like the blink of an eye, people have lost loved ones, jobs, autonomy of movement, and the ability to gather in groups, and this, in part, means no theatre, no movies, no dance shows, and in most cases, no art galleries. The COVID-19 protection measures, while absolutely necessary, have affected artists and cultural organizations in an immediate and direct way, and the things we do to feel connected to one another, especially in times of global crisis, are gone. In the first few weeks of the pandemic in Nova Scotia, the job losses in the arts sector here were palpable. A musician friend of mine was touring in Australia. His tour was cut short. Another friend had a show at the very famous and prestigious Battersea Arts Centre in England. That was cut short. Friends who were in Calendar Girls at Neptune Theatre were told their run would end abruptly, and others who were just starting rehearsals for Billy Elliot were told they wouldn't get to perform. Summer theatre, a backbone for tourism in many parts of our beautiful province, held out hope. Maybe this thing would just last a couple of weeks and we would get back to work. And then announcement after heartbreaking announcement took place that the shows simply couldn't go on. My own personal disappointment was the cancellation of Toronto's Luminato Festival, one of Canada's most prestigious arts festivals, at which I was booked to perform with Zupa Theatre. Many arts workers were hit doubly hard as their part-time work, the jobs they do between arts gigs to pay the bills, which is a whole other issue that I hope to get to later on in this speech, those jobs also dried up. Jobs as ushers in theatres, bartenders and servers in restaurants. They were dark and uncertain days for many Nova Scotia artists. But, Mr. Speaker, artists are resilient and resourceful, and many incredible things came out of needing to rethink how to make art for people and how to bring people together, even if not physically. The Mayworks Festival asked artists it programmed for live events to rethink their offerings, and the result was amazing. Online concerts, podcasts, and guided or curated walking tours presented through phone apps all happened. Singer-songwriter Bruce Guthrow presents a subscription-only songwriter circle that folks from all over can tune into every second Friday. The Nova Scotia Online Kitchen Party was invented. Two Planks and a Passion Theatre turned its production of Animal Farm into a podcast. Wonderneath Studio created art packs that families could pick up to create things together at home instead of at their studio. Textile artist Lisa Hamilton made a series of cross-stitch pieces of the coronavirus. I could go on and on. Like the Brotherhood of Red Noses during the Black Plague, spreading cheer and laughter to the afflicted and dying, artists in Nova Scotia have persevered and continue to create. We may not see the full result of the pandemic on art making for years to come, but as we are in the midst of a state of emergency, artists are working hard to make sure we have chances to experience beautiful things and feel connected to one another. And so why am I bringing all of this up now in a speech into supply? Well, Mr. Speaker, because once again, there is very little in this budget that addresses the needs of our province's one of our province's most precious resources, our arts and culture sector. Last March, when arts and culture jobs and revenue started falling off the side of the planet, artists and organizations were pleading with the government for help. I was impressed with the quick reaction of the staff at CCH, who seemed to understand the dire need of the arts community. And yet it took months and months, much fear and much advocacy for money to get into the hands of organizations. That money was absolutely necessary and appreciated. And yet, that is the money that should have been coming to those organizations for the last several years. That increase, or that amount of $2,100,000, which showed up as emergency funding because of COVID, needs to be made a permanent increase. For the last 4 years, we in the NDP have asked this government, on behalf of the arts sector here, to end the freeze on operation funding for arts organizations. For years, the response has been that this is under review, and yet here we are again with another budget and no real investment in the day-to-day workings of the organizations that have continued to exist in spite of this government. The emergency funds helped, and they must be made permanent. For the last 4 years, we have asked this government to reinvest in our incredible film industry, to admit the mistake of ending the film tax credit, to bring it back and make sure our industry is competitive. We have amplified the calls from the industry to invest in a proper soundstage and bring back the equity fund that was axed in 2016. And once again, we see this budget as a status quo budget. We know this summer will be the best summer in a long time for the film industry. Nova Scotia has become attractive again because of our low COVID numbers and the dogged work of industry reps like Laura McKenzie at Screen Nova Scotia. And this is great. But imagine what would be happening if we had been investing properly for the last several years. With production picking up this year, now is the time to show the world that we are competitive with the rest of Canada and beyond. We need a more competitive incentive fund, a tax credit, a plan to rebuild a skilled film workforce, and a sound stage, Mr. Speaker. Having film moved into the Department of Communities, Culture and Heritage could signal a positive change, but time will tell if change means embracing what the industry has been pushing for years. Mr. Speaker, I have many questions for the Minister of Communities, Culture and Heritage, and I look forward to getting some real answers. But as I head into estimates, I have to say I'm not hopeful. When will we see this Liberal government recognize in a substantial way the power that art and culture holds for us here in Nova Scotia? When will we recognize that it is our arts and culture sector that attracts new residents to Nova Scotia, that attracts those very valuable tourism dollars? But beyond that, when will we realize the value of art and culture to our everyday lives? The richness the art brings us cannot be evaluated only on monetary return of investment, but on the emotional return as well. I know that the minister will point to the new art gallery, to Culture Link, to the Sydney Convent, and rightly so. But the question lingers, who will show in the new art gallery and perform in those spaces? If we don't support the entire ecosystem of artists, new and established, rural and urban, from diverse communities, they will be forced to leave or enter different careers. Our entire arts sector depends on support at all levels, and the economic spin-offs are incalculable. And those smaller organizations and organizations who support emerging artists need space too. The Khyber, Eye Level, and the Bus Stop Theatre are just a few who have teetered on the edge of a crisis of space. And thank goodness the bus stop is now reaping the benefits of hard work and advocacy, and it's currently undergoing renovations as I read this. And we need a plan for all of those folks too, and all across the province there are deficits of libraries, galleries, studios, performance spaces, and practice spaces. Investment in this sector must be a part of our COVID recovery, Mr. Speaker. Like the Federal Theatre Project, which was part of FDR's New Deal in the 1930s, real investment could put a lot of people back to work. We can invest in new art, in new artists, in new art spaces in many communities around the province. Like the possibilities that we see and experience in the presence of art that truly moves us and makes us see the world in different ways. The possibilities for our arts and culture sector are endless, but we need vision and commitment from this government. I had hoped to see that vision in this budget, but I am afraid that we will have to wait and hope some more. Thank you.